Announcing the arrival Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Datuk Sri Utama Dr. Arsyad Ayub, Pro-Chancellor of UITM. Our honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, please kindly remain standing for our national anthem, Lagu Negaraku, and our Wawasan Setiawarga UITM.
Bersatu kita warga UITM, kita bangsa perkasa, taat dan setiaku untuk negara, penuh semangat wajar. Kita jangan mudah terlupa pengorbanan perjuangan anak bangsa.
Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, kindly be seated. Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Datuk Sri Utama Dr. Arsyad Ayub, Pro-Chancellor of UITM. Yang Berbahagia Professor Emeritus Datuk Insinyur Dr. Muhammad Azra'i Kasim, Vice-Chancellor UITM. Yang Berbahagia Profesor Datuk Dr. Rahmat Muhammad, Deputy Vice-Chancellor Industry, Community and Alumni Network UITM. Yang Berbahagia Professor Technologist Dr. Muhammad Kamal Haji Harun, Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Academic and International UITM. Senior management members of UITM, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a most wonderful morning I bid to our distinguished guests, invitees, be it those who are physically here or those who are watching via online platform. On behalf of the University and the Office of ICANN, it is with great honor and pleasure that we welcome all of you to the last lecture by Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Rahmat Muhammad, Vice-Chancellor, Industry, Community and Alumni Network, UITM. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed any further, let's seek our Almighty's blessing for the smooth running of our event. For this, I would like to invite Yang Berusaha, Ustaz Sharul Nizam Ahsan, to recite the dua.
Al-Fatiha. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim, siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahilladzi ja'ala al-Islam lil-muslimina nizama wa anzala al-Qur'ana al-Karim dusturan lin-nasi wa bayana wa ja'alahu hikaman wa hukman wa ahkama. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma ya dhal jalali wal ikram, the most gracious and the most merciful. All praise to Allah, the Almighty, the cherisher and sustainer of the world. May peace and mercy of Allah be upon His Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, companions, and followers. Ya Allah, make us speak with guidance, inspire us with piety, give us success for that which is most pleasure, and employ us in what is most pleasing to you. Allahumma ya da'im al-ihsan, make us enjoy moderation, place us among the people of right behavior, guides to right conduct, and the righteous servants. Allahumma ya fattahu ya alim, we are grateful and pleased to be here at this lovely hall in conjunction with the last lecture program. Set right our religion that guards our souls from sins. Make this world where we live better for us, and make the hereafter to where we return the best for us. Let life be a cause for more good, and let death put an end to any evil that may befall on us. Allahumma ya Aziz ya Jabbar, we ask you to forgive our sins before we leave this place, and to let our good efforts be met with your gratitude, our good deeds be profitable, and our deeds successful. Ya Mujibat Sa'ilin, we humble pray to you, to make this gathering as such to be a blessed one, and make our dispersion the safe one, and do not make any among us a wretched or a deprived one. Ya Sami'ad Du'a, accept from us this humble prayer. Verily, you alone are the all-hearing, the all-knowing. Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka antas sami'ul alim wa tub alaina innaka antat tawwabur rahim. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adzaban nar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Amin, amin, ya Rabbil Alamin. Thank you, Ustaz Shahrul Nizam, for the prayer. May we receive great ease for this event with the recited prayers. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, the last lecture is an ongoing series of lectures where top individuals are asked to think deeply about what matters to them and give a hypothetical final talk as to what wisdom would they try to impart to the world as if they knew it was their last chance. This last lecture is an exciting opportunity for all to learn more about their prominent instructors, administrators, and academia's interests and thoughts on subjects that they care deeply about. And today, our last lecture event is the days in the life cycle of distinguished Professor Datuk Dr. Rahmat Muhammad. Yang berbahagia Tan Sri, Datuk Sri, Datin Sri, Datuk-Datuk, Datin-Datin, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today's event would be incomplete without having our Vice Chancellor to kick it off with some welcoming words. Having said that, may I have the pleasure upon calling our Vice Chancellor of UITM to present his opening speech. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Yang Berbahagia, Professor Emeritus, Datuk Insinyur Dr. Muhammad Azrai Kasim.
Terima kasih baca majlis. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Karim. Amma ba'd. Yang bahagia Tan Sri Datuk Sri Utama Dr. Arsyad Ayub, Pro Chancellor of UITM. Yang bahagia Profesor Dr. Rahmat Muhammad, Deputy VC for Industry, Community and Alumni Network. Bahagia Profesor Technologist Dr. Muhammad Kamal Harun, the VC for Academics and International. Professor Fauzi, TNC Pembangunan. Invited guests and respected alumni of UITM, members of UITM Executive Committee, professors, deans, and staff of UITM, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum and a very warm and joyous morning I bid to our esteemed guests, colleagues and viewers who have logged on to the online access of our special lecture dubbed The Last Lecture. The last lecture here to be given by Dr. Ahmad does not mean that he is leaving us. It is his last lecture as Penjawat Awam. Yeah? Tomorrow he's a contractor like me. Yeah? So that's why I suggested that he deliver this lecture so that we can pick his wisdom, his experience of more than 30 years with UITM. It is with the blessings of Allah SWT that we are able to gather here today at this extremely significant session, and I cannot thank the Almighty and all of you enough for this moment and for being here. Honorable Tan Sri and esteemed guests, it is indeed heartwarming and a great honor to see our beloved Ayahanda Tan Sri amidst our attendees at this lecture. And before I proceed to singing praises of our speaker today, he told me not to be too glowing, he said. Allow me to share a little about the last lecture and its origin. Perhaps most of us here are aware of the fact that UITM, like most universities, has established the professorial lecture as a platform to showcase our distinguished professors. It is a platform for our citizens to learn about the expertise we have in the university community and for those outside to become acquainted with our scholar specialists. These professors have earned the authority to offer guidance and be the reference in his or her area of specialization. It would be remiss of us to not capitalize on their wealth of knowledge and experience. In this regard, we need to continue to encourage and intensify the academic and scholarly pursuits of our young but determined hopefuls to emulate our experienced and wise intellectuals. It is in this spirit of such a noble pursuit that I believe the last lecture should be used. The greatest treasure that we have been blessed with is our minds, and to not honor and share the brilliance of the mind's greatest potential is a disservice to mankind. I believe that as people serving the university and stakeholders, we need to continually replenish our pool of intellectual asset. This is imperative, as such an asset helps ensure the continuing existence and sustainability of our university. Ladies and gentlemen, the last lecture featuring Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Ahmad Muhammad is the first of its kind in UITM. In retrospect, Yang Berbahagia Prof was also the first to have given his lecture when the professorial lecture of UITM was first established. Congratulations to Professor Dr. Ahmad for being the first again in the annals of UITM's history. After this, Prof. Kamal pula nak kena bagi at the end of the year. This sharing platform is only right as he, like the professors and the most senior of them, with their wealth of experience, should leave their legacy of knowledge and wisdom for others to benefit from. As in the words of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whoever teaches some knowledge and will have the reward of the one who acts upon it, without that detracting from his reward in the slightest. This is the book of Sunnah, hadith number 240. This means that sharing knowledge with and disseminating it to others is noble deed and assures returns and rewards that are eternal. This is the incentive and motivation for why sharing and imparting knowledge is obligatory. As you all know, knowledge is of two kinds. One is tacit and the other one is explicit. Yeah? Tacit means it is with you. A lot of this year and next year, a lot of our staff will retire. I think this year, 100 I think will be retired, and probably the next year will be a few hundreds more, especially very senior professors are retiring. Just now, I handed to two professors who are retiring. Yeah? One has retired yesterday, I think. The other is going to retire in 2 days' time. And that nak naikkan pangkat lah, so at least dia punya pension dia naik sikit lah. So first is tacit. So tacit ni, if they go, they will leave, they will bring with you all with them all their experience. But how can we bring from tacit to explicit? It's by asking them to write a book or a lecture where they will share their experience. Yeah? So today we want to tap on the tacit knowledge of Professor Dr. Ahmad, and we hope he will share with us generously. Yeah? Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are extremely fortunate today because we have the privilege of listening to a well-known personality of UITM who has carved an illustrious and formidable career for himself. As an international law expert, Professor Dr. Rahmat practices what he preaches. Even in the early years of his academic life, he had been groomed for leadership, so to speak. He established and led the Office of Institute Quality Knowledge Advancement, INQA. He also established the UITM Perkhidmatan Research Station, Kuala Keniam in Taman Negara, a project very close to his heart during his tenure as the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation. In other words, the leadership positions that he had been appointed to were obviously preparation for him to undertake even bigger responsibilities and position himself beyond the boundaries of the nation. I shall not elaborate further as I do not wish to give too much away. I believe Professor Dr. Rahmat is prepared to share with us the journey of his professional life within UITM, as well as outside the university, a career spanning over more than 30 years. Certainly, there are plenty of lessons to be learned from those who have undergone trials and tribulations of yesteryears. With our world having been transformed considerably with the COVID-19 pandemic, we need to aggressively evaluate our current situation in this new norm and find solutions that can work in order to propel the university's community further into the future. This is why the sharing of knowledge and information from very experienced and seasoned professionals is necessary. We continue to exist because we continue to improve on our actions and learn from the mistakes we made. We have to face the fact that we depend on each other. We cannot live our lives independent of one another. That is a simple human fact. With interdependency, we can maximize our potential to do great things. In other words, it is the biggest teamwork that we should be a part of. The challenge of university's existence is the people who believe in the same cause and willing to make sacrifices in the name of the organization, which is why I'm optimistic that this last lecture by Yang Bahagia Professor Dr. Rahmat would be valuable to all and inspirational to many. I hope that this platform of our meeting today will be the beginning of many more sessions where we continue to share and exchange thoughts and ideas, knowledge as well as experience. I wish to convey my sincere thanks to Yang Bahagia Tan Sri, all our celebrated guests, online viewers, and particularly those involved in organizing this event, the Office of ICANN, Corporate Communications, and the Faculty of Law for your support and enthusiasm in making this lecture a reality and success. May this last lecture profit us all. Thank you once again. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Professor Emeritus, Datuk Vice Chancellor, for those inspiring words of welcome. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, to begin our last lecture event, we are honored to invite Yang Berusaha, Associate Professor Dr. Hatini Saripan, Dean Faculty of Law, UITM, to the podium to introduce and welcome our highly respected and celebrated speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Yang Berusaha, Associate Professor Dr. Hatini Saripan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Rozia, Master of Ceremony. Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Datuk Sri Utama Dr. Arshad Ayub, our ayahanda, our beloved Pro-Chancellor. Yang Berbahagia Professor Emeritus Datuk Insinyur Dr. Muhammad Azrai Kasim, our beloved Vice Chancellor. Our distinguished speaker, Yang Berbahagia Professor Datuk Dr. Rahmat Muhammad, Deputy Vice Chancellor, ICANN. Yang Berbahagia Professor Technologist Dr. Haji Muhammad Kamal Haji Harun, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academics and International. Senior management members of UITM, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I would like to thank ICANN for entrusting me with the noble task of introducing our admirable speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to listen to the last lecture by a renowned professor of international law as Penjawat Awam on the unexpected diplomatic sojourn in India. the journey of one of our own standing on the global stage. This lecture will not only unveil the experience behind his 8 years with the Asian African Legal Consultative Organization, ALCO, as the evidence of his world recognition, it will also depict the shift from being an academic to a diplomat, showcasing the practice of international law. This shift raised the bar for all academics to shine in the global light. As the Secretary General, aka the Chief Executive Officer of an intergovernmental organization with 47 countries from Asia and Africa based in India, Professor Rahmat successfully revitalized the role of ALCO and managed to recover ALCO from severe financial crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, before we talk about his worldwide accomplishments, let's take a dive into the life of our esteemed speaker and learn a little more about him. Professor Rahmat and his lovely wife, Datin Norzia Abdul Rahman, who is also our lecturer, enjoy their days in their beautiful home in Shah Alam with their 4 angels, 2 of whom are our alumni. And one of them even did law with us. And I was told that the eldest is currently pursuing his master's degree at FSPU. And the 3rd child is currently studying in Uitm Melaka. Betul ya, Prof? Okay, so this is really Uitm di hatiku. Professor Rahmat, a proud son of Johor, just like me, did his diploma in law in ITM in 1984 and his advanced diploma in law in 1985. He was part of our first batch of advanced diploma in law, a pioneer to all who came after him. So apparently he is a pioneer of so many events. He then left our homeland to pursue his studies in the United Kingdom, LLM in the University of Bristol and PhD in the University of Aberystwyth, 2 prestigious law schools. His PhD thesis entitled Dispute Settlement Mechanism in the ASEAN Free Trade Area (AFTA) was the prodigious ice-breaking work which paved the path he would soon follow as a professor in international law. In his 34 years of service, he produced time and time again gold-class publications on diverse topics of public international law. Ladies and gentlemen, he began his career as a legal executive at Mirza Zinon Zain in 1984 and a law lecturer of ITM in 1986. But over the years, the little sprout has grown into the mighty tree. Professor Rahmat has gathered an array of experiences from being entrusted with many important roles over the years in service. In UITM alone, he was the Assistant Vice Chancellor of the Institute of Quality and Development of Education, Deputy Vice Chancellor of Research, Commercialization and Innovation, Assistant Vice Chancellor of Strategy, but personally, for me and the faculty, our fondest memory is definitely when he became our dean. It was such a great pleasure to be under his leadership at the faculty. His journey in making an impact in the academic world isn't only limited within our university walls. He was appointed by the state government of Johor to be the counsel watching brief in the application for revision of Pedro Branca's case before the International Court of Justice at The Hague. He represented Malaysia in the preparatory committee meetings in the United Nations on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity beyond areas of national jurisdiction under UNCLOS. He was also nominated by the government of Malaysia as the candidate in the 2016 election of the International Law Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, last year, in 2019, he became the panelist for a panel discussion for office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights in Geneva and Beijing. More importantly, he carried the UITM flag with pride in the international arena all the way to India, where he was elected to be the Secretary General of ALCO, not for one, but 2 terms, a rare feat, seeing as they have a system in place to rotate between new nominees around Asia and Africa. As the SecGen, he headed numerous diplomatic meetings on behalf of ALCO, mainly concerning progressive development of international law. As recognition for his contribution in ALCO, he was appointed as members of both the Eminent Persons Group and the Informal Expert Group related to international law. Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, in the eyes of our distinguished speaker, his sojourn in India was an unexpected windfall he was blessed with. But cling on to his words today, and you will see, as I have, that there truly was no better person to have walked the path he did. It brings us in UITM great pride to have such a reputable man amongst us. He burned the midnight oil over so many years to bring pride to our university and our country. So Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Datuk Sri Utama Pro-Chancellor, Yang Berbahagia Professor Emeritus Datuk Vice-Chancellor, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment we have all been waiting for. It is time for me to present the stage to our respected speaker to deliver the last lecture, The Unexpected Diplomatic Sojourn in India. Please put your hands together to welcome Yang Berbahagia Professor Datuk Rahmat Muhammad. Professor Rahmat, the stage is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Datuk Sri Utama Dr. Ashad Ayub, Ayahanda Pro-Chancellor UITM. Yang Berbahagia Naib Chancellor UITM Profesor Datuk Azrai Kasim, rakan-rakan MEU Prof Kamal, Prof Fauzi, rakan-rakan pengurusan kanan UITM, invited guests, distinguished guests and respected alumni of UITM, professors, deans and staff of UITM, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. Pertama sekali saya ingin mengucapkan syukur Alhamdulillah kepada Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala kerana pada pagi yang bahagia ini kita dapat berjumpa bersama-sama. I'm in fact overwhelmed by the speeches, and indeed this is something that very much cherish. And indeed, although it is called the last lecture, it is not going to be the last lecture. As academics, I think we will serve in pursuit of knowledge, in pursuit of truth, until we die. I think that is the presence, our presence as academics. It is important that we pursue that as our priority. So inshallah, although as Datuk Vice Chancellor said, this is a last lecture as a penjawat awam, but I will continue to serve in this great university, inshallah. Now, in fact, it was something that we discussed, both of us, Datuk BC and myself, that I should be delivering this last lecture. In fact, it's supposed to be tomorrow, my last day, 7th of July. But I wanted him to attend this lecture, so we changed the date for today. So, this last lecture, as emphasized by Datuk BC and and the MC is something that has been practiced in many universities, great universities. And I think it's apt that we follow these traditions. And I think it is a good tradition because sometimes you do not have time to start writing our memoirs or our journey in the university, or if you serve outside the institution like myself, we don't have much time. I came back in 2016. I was given an assignment. At that time was Dato' Hassan Said. He said, your good days are over, now you have to work for the university again. When I came back in 2016, August, I was on the low key. I was at the law faculty, and he called me one day. He said, why are you doing in the law faculty? I said, well, I serve the faculty. I thought I want to share my knowledge with students and colleagues, because there are a lot of things that we need to do, especially to motivate and inspire young academics. Well, he said that probably is true, but he wants me to be in his office, and he appointed me as his Penolong Naib Chancellor for just a short while. And then when Professor Shad left our university, and he asked me whether I should be at the legal advisor office, he said, no, that is one place that I don't think I like to do. Professor Haidar took over the position. He left the faculty. So when things are moving, then he said, no one is at the faculty, so you have to serve as the dean. I said, gladly I would serve, because I never had the opportunity to serve the faculty in my lifetime as an academic. That would be a natural progression of any academics, to serve the faculty. And if you are at the faculty, you are as if like a general with the army, So things can move. You ensure that things are moving at the faculty. I'm very happy that I serve the faculty. I receive respect from colleagues at the faculty, and being the most senior academic at the faculty, I managed to inspire and motivate many of my colleagues, young colleagues. And one of the things that I did was to promote many of my younger colleagues as associate professors, and we end up, alhamdulillah, at least 2 professors at the law school. I did that, but that was a very short time I managed, and finally I'm here. And I must thank Professor Dato' Azrai for giving me the encouragement. He in fact wanted me to deliver this last lecture, and he continued my tenure as Deputy Vice Chancellor. I really appreciate that, Dato'. And I will continue to serve the university if needed. Now, why it is called Unexpected Diplomatic Journey? Basically 2 reasons. All these years, we have dedicated our life as academic. When I left legal practice, and I thought legal practice is not my forte. I don't really like to be there, practicing law. Until in 1985, the late Allahyarham Patnik was the director who said that you don't have to go and, practice, you come. And we need young lecturers. So he gave me the scholarship to do my master's, and then I started my career as an academic in ITM. Then we were then ITM, maybe with small need, big objective, but we do not have that university status. Although it has been said that we are university, but the name makes a lot of difference. But as ITM graduate, I'm very proud of that. I always say that I'm ITM graduate. I think much of the contribution is made by Ayahanda Tan Sri Arsyad Ayub. I think he has made us what we are today, and it is a continuity of the journey from ITM to UITM. And that was never expected. In fact, when we took up the career as academic, we thought we were just a pensyarah ITM with different salary scale. And even when we are promoted as university, elevated as university, our salary scheme is not DU, but DS, DT, DS, DM, So anyway, that actually motivated me to, in a way, what is it that I can contribute and to make UITM famous? So my life has always been to create, to pioneer, to make the best for the institution. Never in the history of Malaysia that I have been honored and given the opportunity to lead an intergovernmental organization, which is an old outfit. It was established in 1956. I will come to that later when I start presenting. So we were given that opportunity, and I took that opportunity. I told friends, I remember I had a discussion with Professor Azizul that I have to leave. In 2008, that was an opportunity. I was already a Deputy Vice Chancellor. Why should I leave this beautiful place? I should be happy with the position. But no, I thought I have to do something greater, not just for myself, but for the institution. So I left. I remember Khalid Nordin, Datuk Sri Khalid Nordin was the Minister of Higher Education. He said, why do you have to go to India? Of all the places in New Delhi, serve UITM. I said, no, sir. We won the election and we have to go. So that was really unexpected. And the second unexpected journey or sojourn is where, in the history of that organization, ALCO, never was an academic being appointed as Secretary General. It has always been the place for ambassadors and distinguished diplomats. So when we came in 2008, before that, I received a call from the then Attorney General, Tan Sri Gani Patil. He said, we want to nominate you as Secretary General of ALCO. I didn't have a faintest idea what is ALCO then. It was really a joke, so I told friends, what is this ALCO? You go and check. So first you check, it was an industry in UK, ALCO. What is this? So then I saw an intergovernmental organization with a very good track record, 47 member states of Asia and Africa. I said, I will do the nomination, cabinet people will be ready, so on and so forth. So I thought 2007 it's not going to happen because there are also competition. He thought there will be a few candidates will be in the running. But finally he chose me. And when the paper came to UITM, it was Tan Sri Ibrahim Shah who was the Vice Chancellor. So I was his lieutenant at that time, because with Prof. Kamal and others. He said, because he has to sign and approve the nomination. One is the secondment. So he asked me, you're going to leave the university. I need you. I said, don't worry, Dato'. We are not going to win this election. I said, I'll give him that assurance. We are not going to win because we are bad in promoting our own people. And where in any international election that we are going to win. So that was the thought. And I said, he was just about to sign the, I said, you sure? You're sure? I said, yes, I'm very sure. Don't worry. So he signed it. He signed it. Hoping that I will not be elected. So, it's all fated. It's all rizqi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that on the 30th June 2008, when they had the election in New Delhi, we won the election. So we got an overwhelming majority by state members. And the first thing I did, I called him. I said, Dato'. He somehow knew it. He smelled it. He said, what happened? I said, Dato', Malaysia menang. We won. Then he said, hey, what are we going to do? I said, no, I have to go to India. I said, so I came back and I gave him an assurance that, Dato, don't you think that you are a great leader because your deputy is being nominated and won the election and have to move to India in 2008. So that was the beginning of my unexpected diplomatic journey to India. So, it's not easy to, just a bit on the organization before I move on to the next slide. ALCO is an intergovernmental organization. As I said, it's an old organization. It started in 1956. It was through the leadership, visionary leaders like great Jawaharlal Nehru, President Sukarno, Gamal Nasir, and Karuma of Africa that they wanted to have one organization that would serve the need of the third world. When they met in Bandung in 1955, if you go to Bandung, there's a great hall. That was the first Bandung conference, the genesis of what we call the non-aligned movement. So when they met in 1955, they wanted to establish this organization. And Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru wanted it to be in New Delhi. So that's the reason why the organization headquarters is in New Delhi since 1956. And we have 47 countries of Asia and Africa in the light of Japan and China and South Africa, Egypt. These are all leaders in international relation and law. And in 1991, we were made as permanent observer of United Nations. This is another great opportunity given to ALCO to serve the need of third world countries or developing countries of Asia and Africa before the United Nations assemblies. And the next slide, please. Can we move on? Yeah. So just a bit on what is post-Westphalian. I love this term, Westphalia. It is where you have the peace treaty of Westphalia after the 30 Years' War. It all started with the peace treaty of Westphalia that we have international law. So inevitably, international law is very much Eurocentric in nature when it started 300 years ago. Now, when ALCO was established in 1956, this is one way to at least ensure that international law should not be Eurocentric in nature. Out of 193 members of the United Nations, 3/4 are actually those developing world. The majority of UN members are basically developing countries. And in 1956, imagine that the working of international law is still very much dominated by the Western world. They dictated how international should be. They give the direction. And at one time, well before the introduction of United Nations Charter, what we have was actually laws of only the Western European countries that decide the destiny of international law. There is no room for developing countries to contribute to the progressive development of international law. So hence you have international law very much Eurocentric until today. It is very unfortunate that even after 1945, after World War II, the legacy of international law by the Western world still prevail. It's very unfortunate that that happened. And what ALCO wanted to do, this is very ambitious. The biggest project is to ensure that the developing world should pave the way in creating a new international legal order, because they are the majority. But as I said, so long as the permanent members of the Security Council from the Western world, basically, the P5, it is very difficult for us to win the war. It's very unfortunate that happened. Some of it are because our own attributes. We actually are victims of our own cause and destiny. Unfortunately, unfortunately, the human resource, wherever I go, I hardly see any young lawyers serving international organization, be it from Latin America, from Asia, from Africa. They are all dominated by the Western world. They are young lawyers from Britain, from America, from France. So and this is going to be a tradition in all these international organizations, be it WTO, United Nations Legal Affairs Division. So how do we go about in ensuring that there are places for our young lawyers, Malaysian young lawyers, to penetrate these very important entities or outfit? So that is one of the challenges that I have to pursue as Secretary General of ALCO, which I did not really succeed in doing so. Because there's always my 8 years life as Secretary General at ALCO is always full of arguments, debate, defending the South, and to understand the North agenda, even to the extent of climate change. Climate change, BBNJ, marine biodiversity in area beyond national jurisdiction, even Rome Statute. I dealt with Rome Statute for the past when I was there as Secretary General. So these are issues that without numbers of active specialists and experts, we are not going to win the battle. And if that is the case, then we will see the continuity of Western world dominating the realm of international law. But of course, we see that there is a change in the Western democracy. Post-pandemic COVID-19, we expect some changes in the development of international law. There is less reliance of the Western world. The Western idea of democracy is not actually working. The idea of regionalism, the idea of Western Europe is falling because some of the European countries are not very happy with the way they are being treated during the COVID-19. They were not given assistance, so on and so forth. Italy was very much disenchanted. They were not given that help. And the rise of xenophobia, the rise of nationalism rather than regionalism in Europe, and the shift from Western world towards China. This is another development. So we hope to see the changes. I think that this is one of the things that is happening, and we hope to see this development, especially in the remaking of international relation and law. Now, Putrajaya Declaration 209 is an important declaration. Now, why I say that? Because when I took office in 2008, Malaysia is supposed to host the annual summit of ALCO. Malaysia committed, and what would be the idea, the grand idea that Malaysia would like to contribute in the progressive development of not just international, but ALCO as an intergovernmental organization. As I said, it's an old organization. It has survived 50 years. But what is next step? So the obvious idea is to revitalize the organization. We can't be the old thinking of diplomacy, the old thinking of the traditional thinking of working or negotiation or enhancing the importance of the Afro-Asian diplomacy has to be changed. So that requires a fresh outlook. That requires a reflection of the organization. So we we sat down together and we thought that Malaysia must inject that idea, and we came up with what we call the revitalization of ALCO in the coming 50 years ahead. So it is called the Putrajaya Declaration, the second part of ALCO for another 50 years. Because we have to ensure that this organization is relevant, this organization is significant, this organization must sustain its survival. Otherwise, like any other organization, it will die off. And member state will not see the importance of that. So we have to ensure that the revitalization of ALCO will ensure its sustainability and significance. So we did that actually. That's why it is called the Putrajaya Declaration. So that is one of Malaysia's contribution at the international level. And it is being recognized as such by member state of ALCO. Right. Now, I would like to share some of my experience. This would be the first thing that when I took office, we didn't know that ALCO was in a financial difficulty really. When I called the financial officer, and he told me that we could only survive for 3 months because the income from ALCO is based on state contribution, like any intergovernmental organization, like the UN, it is based on GDP. Of course, we will see Japan will be contributing the highest, followed by maybe Saudi Arabia, South Africa. So they have the least. And we are really in the red. And this is something that Alhamdulillah, because I've learned some financial aspect when I took office as Deputy Vice Chancellor, and we learned from some short courses conducted by Harvard and all these universities. How do you manage? How do you ensure sustainability? Looking at the financial situation of the organization. And he told me that we could only survive for 3 months. And we are really in the red. When I met the Indian authorities, I said, being the host government, host country, what will be our fallback position? If ALCO is declared bankrupt in 3 months' time. I mean, that would be the obvious question that I have to discuss with the host government. It's interesting that India is a great nation, of course. And they would say this, that you go and talk to other member states, Japan, China, and others first, and see what is their reaction. We have given you this building. This is the headquarters of ALCO. I think we have done more than enough. So, get the contribution from these states. So in other words, India is not going to come out with a single rupees. Because they have already, fair enough, they have given the building, they have given their, their people, so on and so forth. So I thought, okay, we understand the position made by India. So what do I do? I'm I've never done this in Uitm for the past how many years. If we have problem, we'll go and see the ministers. They say, okay, no problem, we will give you the money. Eventually, you'll get the money. But not in ALCO case. Of course, first in my priority is my salary, How are you going to get paid if you don't have the money? And I brought along my family with me. So that was the issue, to recover financial position of ALCO. Or I then start talking to a few countries. Okay, Malaysia will have to come in, So Malaysia generously contributed. Then out of the blues, you have Oman contributing quite a large contribution. So we have some money, at least to survive for a few months more. And then I have to start thinking of how do we ensure that we'll get this money. And at that time, there was a huge areas of contribution countries did not pay to ALCO because they see that ALCO is no longer relevant. it also depends on the leadership. You know, ALCO at that time, my organization do not even have internal audit. There was no auditors appointed. So it is at the whims and fancies of the Secretary General to spend how much money they want. So Secretary General will be traveling first class for a short meeting of, for example, 2 days in New York. You'll be extended for 1 month. Of course, then the money will deplete eventually, you know, because member states want to see how are they, you know, to what extent ALCO is giving them, you know, the relevance and significance, and in what way they can take advantage of ALCO. This was not highlighted. So perhaps we have to reflect, you know, in what way ALCO could contribute to the member state, the 47 countries. And we know out of 47 countries, at least 10 are not able to pay because of war at that time. And they have already declared that they don't have the money. Country like Palestine, for example, obviously do not have the money, but wanting to become a member of the organization, we can't say no, you know. So these are some of the issues that we need to, you know, reflect, and of course they follow up. We need to talk to countries who would like to contribute to ALCOs and to come up with the payment of the areas. We come up with a scheme. We install external and internal auditors to check on, you know, this is very important. The governance must be transparent. There was no transparency in the governance. During the annual session, you know, issue of finance is very much discussed. You know, so I think I put that as something that is transparent. The auditors have to check, a regular checkup on the financial status of the organization. I do not travel first class. I reduce the, you know, traveling. There are things that I did for the organization. Alhamdulillah, before I finished my tenure, we had a 1-year reserve fund for the organization, enough for ALCO to survive for 1 year at least. So that was something that I learned, you know. And I think it is important for any of you who aspired to be a head of international organization to first look at the financial situation of the organization. When I came in blindly, not knowing of the situation. Of course, you don't have a privy to that, but you need to know, you must know what is the financial status of the organization. The other challenge is Malaysia. This is something that I have to share with you. When we won the election, there was no budget for my family, for example, my children's education in international school. There was no budget allocated for, because, as I said, we were not ourselves confident to win the election. So when we won, and that is the only time when the government have to find where are we going to pay? Where are we going to give for example, my overseas allowance, my children's education, because that is the arrangement between the organization and the government. Because if ALCO pay the salary, then Malaysia will not pay the salary. But as to children education, health, so on and so forth, insurance, these are, you know, something that the government will have to do. But there was no discussion. I could not take my children and wife with me until end of the year. So I was living alone for a few months until finally it was sorted out. And it took time for our government to do that. So this is something that you really have to look into before going. Because if we work for Malaysia Embassy, no problem, because that is already been taken care of. But if you work for the international organization, this is something that you have to yourself do it. You fight your own battle, you know. So that is one part of the management of the organization. Second part is you must know substantive. What are the agenda of international law? So that is something that you yourself must know. What are the needs of your organization, your member state, in terms of the various aspects of international law? They talk about climate change, they talk about trade, they talk about so many things. And these are the needs of, because you have to be the first to know and to tell them, to advise the government of 47 countries, this is how it is being done. For example, as regard to Rome Statute, a few countries approached me and said, why Asian countries are not member state of Rome Statute, for example? How do we... I said, this is not my business to promote, but for awareness, perhaps we can do a conference or workshop, so on and so forth. We don't lobby for membership of the ICC. So we learn, and countries come to us and seek for advice. Malaysia is one of the countries, for example. I mean, as regard to the monarch, what is the position of our king, being head of state? Are they being immune, given the immunity, so on and so forth? So for the past 8 years, that has been our business, to advise countries as regard to the development of international law. And for the past 8 years, it is also my business to debate, to ensure our position, to defend Asian and African countries before the European countries, especially in the International Law Commission, where majority of the Western world will have their say first, how they direct their international law. Imagine without the presence of ALCO as a third world outfit, we'll be left behind. But you know, my frustration has always been that there are 36 members of this very prestigious organization, the UN International Law Commission. All are being represented, the African, the Asian, the Latin American group, and the Western world group. We have 7 for Africa, 7, 8 for Asia. But unfortunately, in every summer, we do not have our people voicing our concern, be it the Africa, be it Asia, be it Latin America. It's always been the domination of the Western world and say how international be directed at. So this is the biggest challenge as Secretary General of ALCO, to tell the African and the Asian that you have to contribute. You must contribute, otherwise you will be left behind. And they will be leading the discussion. So we see this happening in climate change. We see this happening in many international treaties and conventions being dictated by the Western world. And that is another avenue that is available for us under the 6th committee in the UN in New York, that we must aggressively, vigorously fight our position. But that is not happening because we do not have experts and specialists in the particular area, especially when it comes to technical jargons and terms that we are not familiar with. You know, and you will see pools of young lawyers assisting the Americans, the European, whenever come, and so they will lobby their positions on it. This is something that we are left behind. There is a great gap in ensuring that the third world countries or developing countries must be at par, or at least we are comfortable with the people that is going to argue their case. And although we have a big G77 in the UN, comprises of African, Latin American, and Asian, but that does not help because it's too big. The group is too big, and it's every time when you have, for example, for small island countries, there are 50 over of them. Island like Palau, and how are they going to defend their position in marine conservation, for example, in climate change? So they eventually will take the expert from Europe to advise them. So you must then know what will be the direction, the ultimate or the conclusion of whatever they're going to sign later. So the fear has always been, to ensure that our position is defended, our position is heard in any design of international treaty and convention. So we are the only body, unfortunately, to handle that position. So the relevancy of the institution is very important. The harmonious engagement between states. Now, I have difficulties, for example, in ensuring that during meetings or during annual sessions or summit, that member state would not be arguing bilateral matters, in the light of some of the countries that cannot go along, big countries, small countries. How do you ensure that bilateral issues are not being highlighted during this big conference or summit? Because it could be embarrassing to some of the states. So I have to then call, sit down and talk to the leaders, the head of delegation, that this is a multilateral organization. It is not about bilateral discussion or debate. But despite what I have said that, having said that, you still have, countries raising issues that concern only the two countries. It could be issues relating to trade, relating to, so the harmonious engagement is very important. This is something that I do not get, as academic. The learning curve has always been very steep, and every day is a lesson learned. For example, you have a situation when a particular country is in deep areas of contribution. So I have to meet up with the ambassadors. And they will not speak English. They will speak their own language. I have to be with the ambassadors for 2 hours. He will explain the need, the importance of his country and who are the enemies of his country, because there's always an interpreter beside me to explain. Then after 2 hours of sitting and waiting, but it does pay. Finally, they will pay their contribution. I think it works. Yeah. So, as a non-career diplomat, you have this limitation, but you have to learn. You have to make sure that you learn fast, and always, something that I look forward. Because what is in my mind is this: when I first met the ambassador, what would be the conversation of ambassador from Africa, from Asia, from the Western world? What would be the topic of the conversation? Sometimes ambassadors would like to talk more. They invited you for dinner or lunch. You don't have, you love the food, but you can't eat because they will be talking all the time. So it is interesting though to learn all. It will come with the culture. Really, it will come with the culture. So this is something that I've learned, and I cherish this moment. And I will come to Gulf diplomacy. It's something later, which is a very important topic also as a diplomat. So let's look at the current state of international. I'll just go briefly on. We always undermine India, because you see India, people running on the street, children running on the street. There are paupers and beggars and so on and so forth on the street. But India is a population of 1.3 billion people. And if you meet their academics, we are way sometimes behind their thinking, their creativity, their knowledge. This is something that I learned. I had the privilege of being a young professor in some of the universities. In Malaysia, when you give lecture to your students, not necessarily Malaysia, even China or Indonesia, part of our part of the world, the Eastern Asia, you rest assured that there will be no question asked by the students. Do you understand? Yeah, just keep quiet, silent moment. You are very happy, But not in India. Not in India. As you're going to say, I will conclude, there will be 20 hands, waving and ready to ask questions, They test you, and they even disagree with you. They say, I disagree with you. I said, this is fundamental in international law. No, he said, you have a different idea about international law, so on and so forth. But then, that makes you to, fully prepared of what you're going to say, So this is something that we all can learn from India. Even the way they put the questions is very diplomatically put. They say, oh, I congratulate you on the topic. This is very important, this one, and so praise you. But, of course, you have to wait for that question, the burning question that they will ask you. Similarly, the diplomat. Why I say you do not underestimate India as a focal point of international relation and law. Although they are not P5, they aspire to be permanent members of the Security Council, but in other aspects, they have their representative as a judge in international Tribunal Law of the Sea, or ITLAWS. They have their ad hoc judges in International Court of Justice, ICJ. They have always a member of the International Law Commission. What does that prove? During my election, in 2016, Malaysia nominated me as, unfortunately I was not elected. I met this Indian colleague of mine, and he's only barely 30 years old, very young academic, young scholars with no international background. So I thought that he's not going to win, because he doesn't have that. But you must remember, election at the UN level is always not about you. It is about your state. So Malaysia will depend on our reputation internationally. 2016 is Malaysia, well, we are recognized for something else. So a very embarrassing question will come to you when you do your lobbying. European countries will take advantage of that and say, do you have a good leader? Something like that. So what are you going to answer? You are supporting Palestine, and you are supporting this unilateral sanctions. So they make it clear. So it is about your country. So I thought in 2016, with my credential as Secretary General, I would have no problem. No, it's not that. You are just managing 47 countries of Asia and Africa. You are not really representing Malaysia. And you have one particular country who works very hard to win the election. The candidate can't even speak English properly. Very incompetent. Not even the international law, but he won. The young scholars from India won the election. So it's about your country. It's about how you tell the great story about your country. They say ambassadors, head of diplomat or mission always lies about your country. That's the true fact of being a diplomat, really. You can't say bad things about your country to the country that you serve. So this is something that we have to learn. And if you serve India, they will also ask you, what do you think of India? The great, as I say, is a great nation, Excellency. Yeah, it's a great nation, full of history, colorful history. You conquered the world, you are now becoming world leaders, so on and so forth. Of course, they are very happy with that. Well, it is true anyway. It is true. In as far as international relation and law is concerned, the science of, the scientific, that they have discovered, they even have the Nobel laureate winner coming from India. So never estimate or underestimate the greatness of India, really. That's what I have to say here, So these are all India and world affairs, and they are a whole civilization. They know how to manage. Their diplomats are excellent. Their ambassadors are excellent. Their scientists are excellent. So it's something that Malaysia must learn. We are always, we thought we are best, this and that. No, when you engage them, you know the depth of your knowledge and the depth of their knowledge. It's, you will laugh, you will look at their universities, it's very dark and dim. You thought, is this the best university of India? No. These are all facade. And we here, we have all the facilities, the greatness of a university, but we are not able to beat their intellectual, capacity. And this is very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that we actually, if people do not want to go to India, they say, what do you, there's nothing in India. India offered nothing. No, you don't see, as I said, children running on the street, a lot of paupers and beggars. No, it's beyond that. The knowledge is far important than this. The intellectuality of something that you can never get it here in Malaysia, that we have to learn. Yeah? So I hope, don't stop. Go and visit and see India for yourself to know the truth. Yeah. Okay. Now I've mentioned this about the over-reliance of Western scholars and and international landscape. I will not go into this. Yeah. And I mentioned about COVID-19 and international law. Yeah, I mentioned this. And now, finally, what are the takeaways, the main takeaways of my 8 years diplomatic expedition? Now, I have to say this, that in terms of, being academic, we are confined to, this is something that I have to say, textbook approach. Yeah. Textbook approach, I mean, if you are an international law lecturer, you will rely on books written by Western academics, Western scholars. Now, if these Western scholars are practitioners of international law, it is okay. You are fine. We are fine with that. But most academics, they are not given the opportunity to serve international organization, to be part of the international legal regime. So what they have is knowledge from somewhere else, transform that into a textbook, and finally say a particular treaty is being made. But before a treaty is made, 20 years of negotiation, 20 years of lobbying, climate change took many years eventually. And that also, unfortunately, US came out of the treaty. Even the Rome Statute, US withdrew, So it took many years. WTO, World Trade Organization, took 20 years before finally you have that treaty. So the textbook writers, they only know what at the end of the product, but they do not know the genesis, the reason for particular provision, so on and so forth. So this is my fear, that if you are not given the opportunity, the young academics must go somewhere, go out, get yourself exposed to international outfit or even regional to understand how particular international relation or law is being crafted. Who are the key players? This is very important. Yeah. We cannot rely too much on textbook. And if the textbook authors are Western scholars, then again, you are being indoctrinated. You thought that is the best law, that the best, option that we should go forward. It's not true. Okay? It is not true. Some of the laws are very much crafted for their need, their own need. Yeah? It's very unfortunate that it is only recently that international law is being made compulsory in law school. It is only recently. Before that, it was just an optional paper. But only now Malaysia make it compulsory, which is, I thought, is a good move. Yeah. So that is one that I thought very important to experience yourself. There are a lot of opportunities in the UN. You can be part of the Hague congregation. You can be part of the Geneva. So on and so forth. It's open. But you have to work hard and you have to see this opportunity. You have to make sure that it is available. I'm ready. Whoever wants to have the contact, so on and so. But unfortunately, when I took office in 2008, I wrote to Datuk Khalid Nordin that make ALCO as a center where you can send students for their practical training. Take the opportunity, It doesn't matter if it is India, but still send your student. Unfortunately, there was little interest. I have a student from USIM, law student from USIM, of course from my law faculty, but other than that, they are not keen. They are not keen because India. It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. But you must, even academics, even if you now want to have an attachment at ALCO in New Delhi, learn how, for example, a particular convention or treaty being drafted. It just could be a framework, legal framework, but at least you have that experience. It's some experience that you will never get. And textbook will not tell you about diplomacy, as Dato' BC said, the tacit, the knowledge that you're going to have, you're going to get. And it's so valuable, especially in international relation and law. If you don't have that, then I said you'll be relying totally on textbook. And I said the narrative of the first world is always for themselves, never to serve the developing world. I said it clear. I know this is on YouTube, but I said it clear. I said it clear, and I've been the advocate of, ensuring that our right in the world map is very important. And finally, on nurturing Malaysian young lawyers, this is where I feel that I'm not doing justice to my 8 years in India, but I want to ensure that I must create 10 Rahmat Muhammad to be placed in international organization. I've trained a few, even at our law faculty, so that they'll be nominated. There will be at least the experience to work in international organizations. So you must have that idea of having more Malaysian, as lobbyists for our country. No one can do it. No one will do it. You have to fight your own battle. And apart from these 4 points, Gulf diplomacy at work. That's, So these are some of the I'm not a golfer. I was anti. I was never for golf. Prof. Kamal and Prof. knew about this. When I was the TNC first round, they don't talk golf in front of me, because I remember Prof. Kamal said, don't ever raise golf issues in front of Rahmat. But for a simple reason that I was not allowed by Ibrahim Shah. Tan Sri, Ibrahim Shah always said to me, you don't play golf. Then I was saying, what about my friend, my colleague, I miss them. You don't play. So he pinpointed to me. So because of that, I fear, So my friend went for all that, and when I realized that I have to do something in India, because I don't have any other, you can't cycle in India, ma. The road is terrible. Only Indian can do that, but not, foreigners like us. So I have to learn, and fortunately I have the current Ketua Pengarah MKN, Tuan Haji Rabin, to help me on that. And we played, and of course I became the, they would eat me, but later I was, so golf diplomacy works very well in that country, in India and some part of the world. Because you must, as I said, don't underestimate India. There are 160 diplomatic missions in India. So I would say, apart from UN, apart from Washington DC, New Delhi is the next, where you have pools of diplomats living there, either country or international organization. And I think I would say this, that the highlights of my sojourn in India was during the ALCO annual session held in Beijing in 2015. My last assignment as Secretary General in New Delhi in 2016. I had the privilege of meeting great leaders, great, my legal mind in the world. Yeah? This is a picture of the foreign minister of Iran and India. I've traveled quite a lot in Iran. I've seen their beautiful country. This is among the Malaysian. These are some of the pictures that I've collected. And I had the opportunity of there you are. You have to see all the Western world there. Germany, the UK. I was in the midst of that, great debate on the working of United Nations. So what is my view on the UN? So of course I'll give a piece of, not about me, but about the organization. How does Asia and Africa contribute to development? I had the opportunity to give my, talk to the UN, and with the Southern American countries we work. Because as permanent observer of the UN in New York, Geneva, and Vienna, so I really take that opportunity to portray not just Asian and African countries, but also Malaysia, taking the lead in some of the important discussions. Okay. And I'm very happy that the 8 years of my journey, a diplomatic journey. This is something that has been written by, or speech by Mr. Li Keqiang. So even the pronunciation must be right. You cannot say Mr. Li Keqiang like that. So the Chinese, you will say, sir, this is how you pronounce Mr. Li Keqiang. Mr. Li Keqiang. So it's something that I've learned. So he made a, a very, I appreciate his, his speech in that annual session. And another commendation was from the UN Secretary General himself, Mr. Ban Ki-moon. I was surprised to receive this note from him. So that actually inspired me to work harder for the organization. And finally, from Japan. Japan is a very important member state of ALCO. So without Japan, you may not get your vote. So Japan has given me an excellent testimonial. And ladies and gentlemen, before I end my lecture, I would like to dedicate this to both my parents. My late father, Muhammad bin Qasim, is just a retired army, not even an officer, very disciplined person. And they taught us to be persevere, never feel shameful being poor. He left the army without being because he resigned, so he didn't get any pension. So when he left, he has to do odd jobs, and to feed 9 of my siblings is not easy. So, and my mom is still battling her life in the ICU at the moment. I pray that she's well, inshallah. And may Allah bless both of them and put them in Jannah. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. I have to drag the Vice Chancellor, I have to drag Tan Sri Ashad Ayub to listen to my, journey, my diplomatic journey. So thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Yang Berbahagia, Professor Datuk, for the most invigorating and inspiring lecture. Datuk, we request upon you to stay, maintain on stage. May Allah give us the profit significantly from your experience and your wisdom, inshallah. Thank you again, Yang Berbahagia Datuk. To honor and celebrate Yang Berbahagia Datuk's commitment to the university and faculty, as well as his illustrious academic achievement and accomplishment. Ladies and gentlemen, please call upon Yang Berbahagia, Dean Faculty of Law, representing her faculty members, to bestow a token of appreciation and gratitude kepada Yang Berbahagia Datuk. Please welcome Yang Berusaha Associate Professor Dr. Hatini Saripan. Well, guests, ladies and gentlemen, no questions, no Q&A session. Too bad. One question. But, how about it, Datuk? Can we, please, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri.
challenging you, you know. Tapi kalau kita dah malas, terima challenge, tapi suara dah kuat dah. Walaupun tidak ada, ini challenge, cabaran ini kita tak terima. Itu saja. Patutnya you kena jawab.
Thank you Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri.
Tak, kita dah sign. Datuk VC pun dah. In fact, we had a privilege to go into one of their annual session di Tanzania baru ni. Last year, was it? This year. So, kita nak melihat pools of our, not just student but also academic, to be exposed. They can do their interns ataupun practical training. That is very much required, Tan Sri, to understand how the international relation, you know, being played, the design by, you know. So kalau tak ada, the exposure is very difficult. It's very difficult. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well. Yeah, Tengku siapa? Sofia Jiwa. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well. Yeah. That's true. So maknanya tadi students, of course, now the faculty is, you know, all the faculties are doing the mobility, student mobility, dan juga pensyarah. I think Datuk VC is, you know, making sure that will happen in the university lah. Yeah, sabbatical, yes. Yeah. Dekat ada kan? InsyaAllah ada. Tak buat masa ni tak ada lah. InsyaAllah ada. Ya, betul. This is true. Ya, banyak, betul. Very true. Ya, very true. Atau India dia tak mau. Okay. So, it's alright. Thank you very much. The current president of ICJ, I'm very much in admiration of him, Professor Yusuf Abdul Qawi. He's a Somalian, but he works very hard. He's a Muslim. He has, you know, that you know, greatness in sharing his not just knowledge but also helping poor countries. You know, coming from Africa, definitely would make him to, you know, to work harder and ensuring that there is something, you know, for us in this world. You know. So Dr. Shah is here. Dr. Shah, come, Dr. Shah. Dr. Shah, I want to tell you, Dato', he actually now a qualified arbitrator. In fact, when he took the course, it's a Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, organized by UK. So masa dia, because of my contact with the arbitration sini, he used his own money. It's quite a lot. So he spent about 30,000, you know, just to become an arbitrator, qualified arbitrator. But on the second part of that course, I minta tolong kepada director tu kalau boleh waive dia punya duit pun dah habis. But alhamdulillah he became an arbitrator, Tan Sri, and I think that he better not leave ITM. Sekarang ni dah ada ROI dah. A few cases, maybe you can.
Yeah, I've been given opportunity to handle a few arbitration cases as sole arbitrator and also adjudications. Yes, I'm also a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators of UK and also a fellow of the Asian's International Alternative Dispute Resolutions. Oh yeah, my recent webinar with Dhaka Center of Alternative Dispute Resolutions, involved with the webinar, and also with Faculty of Law, with Professor Rahmat. Yeah, I got two publications upcoming in October with Water Clovers, based in Netherlands, on the reform of ISDS, Western state dispute settlements, which project I'm working with arbitrators from UK and US, and also my own publication with LexisNexis on the common issues in Malaysian adjudication that we published in October.
So adalah. But I also train some other universities young lecturers, USAM and UKM. And UNIZA also appointed me as their visiting professor, so I have occasion to help them.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you Yang Bahagia Tan Sri, thank you Dato' VC and Dato' Rahmat, who said we have only journal Q1. This is Q1 session. You know, with the Q1 questions and answers, this is going to be impressive. You won't get this in either other session. Trust me, I know. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, we are proud to claim that Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Rahmat Mohamad is an established and reputable academic as well as a diplomat who is worthy of our respect and mention. He has been with us in UITM since 1986, and he is a proud alumnus of UITM. For this special event, ladies and gentlemen, we in ICANN have prepared a tribute montage presentation to celebrate Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Rahmat Mohamad's professional life for everyone's viewing pleasure. We sincerely hope that this montage will do justice in capturing his career and contribution. Ladies and gentlemen. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Rahmat Mohamad's commitment to UITM is beyond question. Hence, he desired to give back in manifested in the form of today's personal contribution to the UITM Arshad Ayub Wakaf Funds. For the presentation of contribution, may I have the pleasure of inviting Yang Berbahagia Professor Emeritus Dato' Insinyur Dr. Muhammad Azrain Kasim, Vice Chancellor of UITM, accompanied by Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Datuk Sri Utama Dr. Arshad Ayub, Pro-Chancellor of UITM, to the front stage. May I now invite upon Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Rahmat Mohamad to present his contribution. Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Rahmat, for your generosity and commitment, and a warm appreciation to both our Yang Berbahagia Professor Emeritus Datuk Insinyur Dr. Muhammad Azrain Kasim and Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Datuk Sri Utama Dr. Arshad Ayub.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Saya ikhlasnya mengucapkan sumbangan Datuk Rahmat kepada kompleks tabung wakaf. So secara balas budi, tapi not, this is personal now. saya akan bagi sebanyak RM15,000 kepada law faculty namakan hadiah itu nama Datuk Rahmat. RM15,000 kalau dapat 4% income, ada berapa? 600 je. Ha? 600 ke 6,000? 600. Jadi simpan duit tu lah. Macam tabung endowment, nama dia dalam law faculty, bagilah hadiah RM500 ke every year ke every graduation. Thank you. Itu terpulang pada dia.
Inspiring announcement. Thank you very much, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, so many excitement today. Good news all around. Our event would not be complete without capturing this historic moment in a photo, though we have already recorded it. Okay. May we invite all our honored guests and attendees to join our Vice Chancellor, our Pro-Chancellor, and our speakers for a group photo. And for that, Associate Professor Madam Fairuz, can you please lead the way?
Thank you very much, Dr. Rosie. So because of the social distancing SOPs, we'll have to observe that. I would like to request that everyone the one who have got seats, please remain in your seats. Those who are standing, can you make sure that you observe your social distance? We have some empty spots here. I need the photographer up front, please. Photographer, thank you very much. And then from here, we're taking the photo from here because we do not want to move people around. And so those who are in the back, standing, pengarah, do you have any spot for them? Never mind, remain there. Okay, let me just make sure that everybody is captured. Can we remove the television stand, please? And we have one person there.
So this is going to be our new norm photo session. Thank you very much. With the end of the photo session, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri, Yang Berbahagia Datuk Sri, Datuk-Datuk Professors, senior members of UITM, ladies and